Come on, guys, I'm the last one. You should have more life in yourself. Come on, you can do better than that. Great, so may I have the pointer? Is there any pointer? Clicker, pointer, yeah, perfect. So guys, I'm gonna be talking with you about cognitive biases and machine learning and my personal life back in 1997, so you don't want to miss that. So yeah, let's go. Is it working? Okay, perfect. So please take a look at the display right now. So if you look at this, you're gonna be framed, right? And I'm gonna talk about framing as a cognitive bias. But before that, let me talk about 1997. I wanted to go to the seaside with my new girlfriend, and I couldn't afford to go to the seaside with my new girlfriend because I got no money. So I got a temp job to sell cookbooks on the street, and that was a really cool guy at that moment, even though his books were very expensive. So they were so expensive that in the first day I haven't sold anything, even though I chased everyone on the streets, you know, to sell them these cookbooks. Hey, and I've tried everything, believe me. So 23 people, 0% conversion rate. In the first week, though, I managed to sell 2 books on 218 people with a 0.9% conversion rate. So mainly I've increased my conversion rate by an infinite %. So I've increased the number of prospects from around 30 per day to around 100 per day. I've improved the location from everywhere to the bus stations because they couldn't hide from me, you know? They couldn't say, I'm in a hurry or I need to go someplace else. They were stuck there. They were in the bus station and they needed to wait for the bus. And I've also changed the target from everyone to old ladies or mothers with their kids, because as well they couldn't run and they were there. So the last thing that I've changed was the pitch from do you want a cookbook to what if you could surprise your nephews, or what if you could learn how to cook. Even though that was a bit rude for some of the ladies, at least I got away with it. So after 3 weeks, I've sold 28 books, and I've reached almost 2,100 people, and the conversion rate was 1.3%. So mainly, that's how Costinești looks. That's the seaside of the Black Sea, in case you want to go there. I don't recommend it. Ignacio told me that Spain is even better, so I'm not going to brag about Romania anymore. So the insights after my experiment were like this. First of all, A/B testing really pays off if you don't give up. The second, persistence can be a trap. So we are all hearing these stories about the need to be persistent, you need to go over and over again. But if you go very, very persistently through a wall, you're not going to reach anywhere. So you need to also find the door. So that means you don't have to be persistent in the wrong direction. The third thing is that relevant targeting saves the day. So you need to understand who's your target customer, how to approach him. And the last but not the least, framing is incredibly powerful. And framing is a cognitive bias that was emphasized from Amos Tversky and Daniel Kahneman. So those 2 guys, I think you've heard about Daniel Kahneman. They've stated that humans are born irrational, and that made us better decision makers. And let me tell you about one of their experiments that revealed framing as a cognitive bias. So it was this experiment. 600 people are infected with a deadly disease, and we have 2 treatments, treatment A and treatment B. Each of the treatments were exposed as being positively framed, or negatively framed. So in the positive frame, save 200 lives, and the negative frame, 400 people will die. So the conversion rate was mind-blowing. So it was like 3 times better when the same data, right? Out of 600 people, 200 will live, 400 will die. So if you look at the results, it's perfectly clear that with the same data, you can get different results if you frame it differently. So the framing effect means that people draw different conclusions from the same information depending on how that information is being presented. So that's what I've tried to do as well at the beginning when I've showed you that thing with no stupid people behind this point, right? That is framing, so you'll pay more attention if you think that's for you. So I'm gonna show you a case study from ING. ING is one of the largest banks in Europe. And we've made a research on them about why people are not getting loans. So we've made this research and we understood that 46%, like most of them, weren't converted because of they were afraid that they won't qualify for the loan. So we've made a hypothesis, like in A/B testing. If we will change the lead form by gradually addressing the visitor's objections after each field, during the form completion, more of the people will finish the process. So we've got the A version, this one, with the surname, name, all this boring stuff, and the other version, which was using also the framing and also instant gratification. So after the completion of the fields, you could have this field talking to you, like, does the name, hello name. After the surname, after the name, we were addressing all the objections that they had, like no hidden cost, no other documents, without useless back and forth, and so on. So the improved version, so with this instant gratification form, we got to having 12% more conversions with the same product, right? It was the same product with the same conditions, it was just framing. So framing is the foundation of the A/B testing. We change the website content in order to change the behavior of the users. So mainly what we are doing as marketers or e-commerce owners or whatever we are, if we want to sell more with our websites, we need to change also the package, right? Also how we expose the information, not only the products. So another cognitive bias is the overconfidence effect. So for certain types of questions, answers that people rate as 99% certain are wrong, turned out to be wrong 40% of the time. So that's how effective our brain machine actually is. So you could see here some incredible persons at their time, like Thomas Watson, right? I think the world market is a world market for maybe 5 computers, right? And he was chairman of IBM. Another one is coming from Albert Einstein. There is not the slightest indication that nuclear energy will ever be obtainable. So authority bias makes us believe that we attribute, let's say, accuracy to people which are authority in their fields, even though they have no experience in the other fields. So that's what we are doing, and that's why authority bias works in our brains as well. So there are like 103 cognitive biases. If you want to check them all, you have this link, designhacks.com. In the last 6 years, we've been doing a lot of conversion rate optimization, working with a lot of companies, big, small, medium, and so on. And there were like 18,000 websites at some point that used Omniconvert to do manual-driven A/B testing. And that got us access to 41,000 human-driven A/B testing experiments made by thousands of websites. So we've analyzed the ones which were the best. So we made a deep diving into the companies which were the most successful in doing A/B testing. And you could see here, like the uplifts, right? We had companies that improved the conversion rate by 46%, right? The same traffic, the same products, different frames. And also we've understood and we wanted to check out which of the experiments are the most effective, the ones which are changing the dynamic, the content, or the ones which are changing only the existing content, right? We've got different type of experiments, overlays and A/B testing of the existing content. So when we deep dived, we've seen that mainly 5% uplift, 10% uplift, or 15% uplift were the same win rates, right? But if we segmented the experiments with more than 15% uplift in the conversion rate, we've managed to see that the overlays were far more effective than the A/B tests, right? So if we push and if we trigger some widgets and overlays on the visitors, chances to convert are 3 times better than if we let the existing content to stay the same. So our insights were that it's a numbers game. The more experiments, the better. It's a velocity game as well. Testing means discipline and deploying a lot of A/B tests. The winners are the ones which are not stopping, right? The ones which are ultra marathoners. You need long-term commitments in order to improve conversion rate. Overlays can be more effective than A/B tests on the e-commerce for the e-commerce websites, and also not all the cognitive biases are created equal. So these are the most impactful cognitive biases, and I'm not going to stay to explain all of them to you. Availability cascade, fear of missing out, herd mentality, anchoring, confirmation bias, bandwagon effect. Someone is taking pictures, okay. And then it's framing, loss aversion, and I'm going to only talk about loss aversion because I think this is amazing. So people are, let's say, much more willing to keep what they already have than to win something else. So if someone is to lose $100 or to win $100, he's going to do all the action not to lose the $100. So that means people are much more willing to keep what they already have. And that's something very important when we try to push discounts on people. So instead of saying earn, gain, or let's say win 10%, it's better to say save 10%, because the wording makes them act differently. So these are the conversion rate optimization maturity phases. We got the A/B testing, we got the multivariate testing, and we have the machine learning optimization platforms, which are just rising. These are the steps in order to run an experiment. So you collect the data with Google Analytics, then you generate some insights with the brain of an analyst or a guy or a smart marketer, and then you do hypothesis and prioritization. You go to segment users. You say something like, I'm going to deploy this experiment to all the users which are coming from Facebook ads, let's say. And then you set the pages, variables, you do a creative, you do QA, and then you launch the experiment and you adjust it. It's very time-consuming, believe me. So the difference between multivariate testing and A/B testing is that the insights and the QA is semi-automatically, and the adjustment is made automatically. But with machine learning optimization, you get rid of the insight generation, you get rid of the hypothesis, the prioritization, the segmentation, and the launching of the experiments. So there are more than 500 data points that could be interpreted by machines. At this point, the brain of a data analyst is far away from the capacity of the processing power of the cloud. So we can grab data around geolocation, like city, region, weather conditions, temperature. We can get data around device, around the real-time behavior, the past behavior, about the traffic sources, and so on. So there are like more than 500 data points that we could be using. And with human-driven optimization, we do the same things. Like we can deploy one experiment every 3 weeks. So in order to see and to check that the experiment is really accurate, it needs 3 weeks no matter the experiment. But with the machine learning optimization experiment, you could deploy more than 500 of them in 4 hours. So that's the difference between machine learning and human-driven experiments, right? So you have this, we have the user which has these cognitive biases, we have the 500 data points, and we have the machine learning experiments. So let me give you some examples of pre-built experiments that could be run with machine learning. First of all is the choice reduction. How many of you have bought something like shoes online so far, despite me? Okay, so there are like half of you. And have you been, raise your hands if you've been able to buy your shoes without selecting your size. Okay, so despite him, nobody could buy the shoes because there's nothing such as a unique size of shoes, right? So in order to buy something online, you need this step, which is called choice reduction, right? So you could push these kind of filters like size or price or color or availability in the stock to disengaged users. So instead of having the visitors just decide for themselves, you could trigger something, or you could let the neural network to trigger and experiment something like this, right? So what's your size? So in this manner, not only that you act like interactively, you have a dynamic website that talks with the visitor in real time, but you also push him down the funnel. So that's an example of an experiment that it's using the cognitive bias of framing, because if you select, let's say, I'm wearing 41 at my shoes, and if you see shoes which are only 41, your brain tricks you into thinking that these products are for you. So people are much more willing to buy shoes if they see these are only your size. And this is based on your own action. It's like you are doing in a real store. Another experiment is the special offer experiment. So people are pushing these kind of experiments like 5%, let's give 10% if people are on the cart or something like that. The problem with the current method to incentivize people through discounts is like this. First of all, you can offer a too high discount on everyone, so people would have bought anyway. You can miss some of the customers by not offering a discount big enough, or the third problem is that you could offer a too big discount. So you could have persuaded the customer with only 4%, not with 10%. So that means the e-commerce loses money because of this campaign, which is a leap of faith. When you say, let's give 10% discount to everyone, you say, let's give 10% to someone which is going to buy anyway, or let's give 10% to someone which would have buy with only 4%. So with machine learning, you could test out 1%, 2%, 3, 6, 5, 8, 9%, and you could decide, and you could let the machines to decide to which visitors to push this experiment to, and when to push this experiment, and what's the, let's say, best discount that would keep the highest margin to the shop. And that's also accessing the availability cascade and the loss aversion, right? So saved 10% if you buy right now. Last but not the least is the social proof experiment. So Booking.com is using this a lot. So people are being, let's say, persuaded everywhere by seeing the social proof and the fear of missing out, right? So we have the you missed it, like I've done like 3 days ago, right? So why should I have seen this you missed it? Because there's no use for me, right? If I missed it, why are you showing it to me? There's no use. I mean, I can't book it. But the reason that you are seeing this as a user is to increase the fear of missing out on you. Because this was already booked, so let's book it right now. Let's not go to another website, or let's not postpone this, right? And this is the fear of missing out. Another thing is this only 5 rooms left on our website. This is fear of missing out in action as well. And another thing is this social proof, right? We have this superb 1,700 reviews, and also last book for your days 5 hours ago on the website. So that's how social proof and fear of missing out actually works. And in order to deploy this kind of experiments, it's pretty easy right now with this machine learning approach. And it's not only for companies as big as Booking.com. So you could use this social proof with this kind of widgets that takes into account the number of visitors or the number of buyers or how many products are left in the stock. And this is information that usually the shops have but not use. So it's time to, let's say, deploy this kind of experiments on the website, because otherwise we're not going to do anything but taking boxes from A and moving them to B. And in order to thrive, we need to use the existing resources that the company has. So that's the difference between the humans and the machines, right? So let's take a look at this action. Going to sleep, that's the task, right? I want to go to sleep, and it's 10 p.m. So I got the decision to go to sleep. And after 1 minute, I forgot to drink some water because I want to, let's say, be healthier. And then after 3 minutes, I'm hearing a notification. I'm thinking about the alarm. And then I'm actually finding reasons to go to my smartphone. And then after looking at notification, I'm scrolling down the stream, I'm looking at other stuff. And anyways, 3 hours afterwards, I'm finishing the task, because that's how the human brain works. And that's not a problem, actually, because we are much more creative because of that, because of those distractions. The problem is how much distraction can you chew in your life. The machine way works like this. 10 p.m., decision to go to sleep. 10 p.m., shut down. So that's how the machines are working if you set the correct target on them. So the e-commerce equation is simple, right? Traffic multiplied by conversion multiplied by margin equals growth. But generating traffic is much more expensive than ever. So in the last 6 years, Facebook ads increased the cost per click 8 times, while the total retail sales have been increased by only 1.5 times. So we know that humans are distracted, and it's time for us to let the machines do what we can't do anymore. So if you are interested, we are building this type of machine learning optimization platform. We are backed by European Union, so there's no cost for the early adopters. Of course, there's an experimentation and there's a learning process. But if you are intrigued about this, and if you have more than 200,000 visits a month, you could check it out, right? It's omniconvert.com/adapt. So that was it. Thank you for your attention. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.